Hi traders, and welcome to the Technical Analysis Market Watch on Friday the 29th of November. So we've seen a bit of action this week, but it has been a little bit more subdued over the last couple of days with the Thanksgiving holiday coming up. But we'll jump straight into the charts and see if we can identify any trades for today or early into next week. All right, we'll start out here with the Aussie USD as we always do. And we can see that we've had a relatively strong attempt to break to a new low at around that sort of 64.35 area. It's a very, very strong defended zone here. You can see we've got very, very heavy support here at two important levels. And again, it certainly kicked itself back up again. It's trying very, very hard to hold up above the 65-cent mark. I think that it's probably the last line of defense for it, really. Like if we can maintain price above that 65-cent mark, I think we can probably push on to, at the very least, up to the moving average and this previous support zone, which is around that sort of 65.40. That would be the first point of trouble. But if we can get past that level here, this is where we really need a daily close above that 65.50. That would give us the strength that we require and momentum to probably push on to around that 66.20 at that point, which is the next really strong support and resistance zone. So what we're looking for is potential scalping opportunities up to 65.50, but a daily close above that would give us more momentum up to that middle zone. If we actually fail and Monday we're sitting here underneath 65 cents and looking weak again, then I think we could probably start to target that sort of 64.40-ish again, these lows. I'm not convinced it's going to break past there yet. It needs to do it before I would actually get involved. But if it does get a daily close below that 65-cent mark and we're trending down early next week, I wouldn't mind that as a trade back down to this level here. So pretty straightforward, but we just need the market to actually maintain this level or sell off from it. Either way, happy to trade it. I think we're comfortable in both directions there. All right, over to the US dollar CAD. Look, it had that massive move earlier in the week. Pulled back, but it's holding around the middle. It hasn't completely sold off to the 20 moving average again. I would be looking at scalping opportunities on this one. In the first point, up to around that 139.60, and then around that sort of 139.30. These are the levels that I'd be paying a lot of attention to if it gets back down there, because I would expect that we'll probably find support at around those zones. If it kicks on from here and starts to go higher lowing on a smaller time frame, I would aim for the previous main high before it actually went crazy at around that sort of 141 flat. That would be the target zone for it. I would probably ignore that big wick that really pushed on. That was obviously news related, but this level here, I'll put a marker there for us around that sort of 141. That is the area that I would be aiming for the long opportunities. If we get we're right in the middle of the zone right now. So either way, whichever way the smaller time frames start to trend, if we get lower high, lower lows, we aim for that 139.30. And if we get higher lows, we'll aim for that 141. Pretty straightforward trading on the US dollar CAD. Has been really good and strong. All right, US dollar yen, big sell-off this week. It broke through the support zone here at 153, and as the yen does, when it breaks through, it just keeps going. So once that was broken, we're finding ourselves right in the middle of this zone here. This area here is key. You can see that we had basically 2 or 3 weeks of just price action hovering around that sort of 151 flat area. That's where it's at right now, right in the middle of this channel. I'll pop a horizontal there as well. Really straightforward here. If we see a bounce off this level and we see a series of higher highs, higher lows, we aim for the 153.50. And if we continue to break down and we get a daily close below that 151-ish area, and that's where we're trading on Monday, I would be looking at that 149 as the target. So very straightforward on the yen. I must emphasize again, it is the, we've got a Thanksgiving holiday in the US. It is Thanksgiving weekend. So the market may be a little bit lackluster in terms of big moves over the next 24 hours. So just be mindful of that as well, of course. Over to the dollar index, and we can see that we had a big pullback down to exactly where you would need it to go, to be honest. That 106 is a very important zone for it. Obviously a roll reversal zone, and you would expect that support will be there. Bounced off the 20 from there and is hovering above the 106.20 now. It's really straightforward on this one. I mean, the euro is obviously the one we would trade in this instance, but pretty straightforward in the sense that if we get a bounce off from this level, we'd be aiming in the first instance to the 1.7, and that's probably my target. I don't know if I'd be going for anything more, especially over the next few days, while we're probably expecting a little bit of weakness. Look, most of the time, we do find that it's probably more relevant to the S&P 500. Actually, I'll touch on that in a minute. What we're doing here is pretty straightforward. A series of higher highs and higher lows. We aim for the 1.7. If we get a daily close below 1.6, that's where we're trading next week. We would look at moves back down to the center of this channel here, where this resistance is at around that 105. That would be the area that I'd be looking for on the dollar index. The euro, of course, is the one that we would be trading. It's been a really good bounce off that 104.50, which is good. Correlates obviously with the dollar index and what it's done. We've seen a nice little bounce off that level. Still a little bit more to go for mine, but it has to hold above that 105.50 area on a daily for me to be convinced that the strength is going to remain. It's been a good trade so far, but we do need it to actually maintain a little bit more strength. It's going to probably find a little bit of trouble at around that 106, especially if the 20 moving average is there. So if it happens quickly, the 20 moving average might cause it a little bit of grief, but just be mindful of that. If we get past that level there, I would expect the 106.80 would be the main target for this one. So pretty good trading on the euro. Hopefully you're able to get hold of that move. If you go to a smaller time frame, you'll see it play out pretty straightforward. You can see the pull back to the 20 moving average, pull back to the 20 moving average, and then off it went. So good trading on the euro. But again, we've got a moving average just in front of it, which is not far away. Just be mindful of that. If you're scalping long, be careful of the 20 moving average. But if it does reverse here and start to trade underneath the 105.50 next week on a daily, I'd be looking back to the lows, just like the dollar index was, but in an inverse, of course. All right, and the S&P 500, look, this is the one you've got to be really mindful of. Obviously, it's going to be pretty lackluster. You would expect going into a Thanksgiving holiday. But that said, the price action can still move. I think my inkling would be that it would probably hover around these all-time highs, around a sort of 6,020 to 6,030 area. It may drift slightly lower to the 20 moving average, but if it doesn't do that, it's going to be difficult to trade over the next few days. I'd probably be leaving this till Monday. Pretty straightforward. Generally speaking, we often see a little bit of weakness after the Thanksgiving holiday for the first week of December. So just be mindful of that seasonality wise. It can be a little bit soft on the indices. And if that is the case next week and we start off a little bit weak, I'd be looking at the 20 moving average as a target, wherever that may be. Probably the 59.50 would be the target on that. So if we start off soft at the start of the week, aim for the 59.50, and failing that, the 58.80 would be a pretty solid target. But I wouldn't be expecting that even if we do touch a new high throughout the session today, or it's probably going to be a little bit soft. So just take that with a grain of salt, knowing that there is a long weekend coming up in the US. All right, so I hope everyone's had a great week's trading. I think we've seen some good opportunities. Good levels have held up again. Hopefully you're able to take advantage of some of those, because they were on the ones that we were talking about. So have a fantastic weekend. Have a fantastic long weekend if you are in the US, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.